Which ancient structure was built as a tomb for a Persian king and is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world? Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. Great Pyramid of Giza. Correct answer. Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. Which ancient city was famously buried under volcanic ash after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE? Pompeii. Delphi. Ephesus. Correct answer. Pompeii. Which ancient empire constructed an extensive road system known as the Royal Road, enabling efficient communication across its vast territory? Roman Empire. Persian Empire. Byzantine Empire. Correct answer. Persian Empire. Which South American mountain range is the longest continental mountain range in the world? Andes. Rockies. Alps. Correct answer. Andes. Which Russian author wrote the philosophical novel The Brothers Karamazov, exploring themes of faith, free will, and morality? Leo Tolstoy. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Anton Chekhov. Correct answer. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Which Hungarian composer and pianist was known for his virtuosic performances and is considered one of the greatest pianists of all time? Franz Liszt. Bela Bartok. Antonin Dvorak. Correct answer. Franz Liszt. Which track and field athlete set a world record in the long jump at the 1968 Olympics that stood for nearly 23 years? Carl Lewis. Bob Beamon. Jesse Owens. Correct answer. Bob Beamon. In syntax, what is the term for a verb form that functions as a noun, often ending in ing in English? Participle. Infinitive. Gerund. Correct answer. Gerund. Which colorless, odorless gas makes up about 78% of Earth's atmosphere by volume? Oxygen. Carbon dioxide. Nitrogen. Correct answer. Nitrogen. Which treaty divided the newly discovered lands outside Europe between Portugal and Spain in 1494? Treaty of Tordesillas. Treaty of Utrecht. Treaty of Westphalia. Correct answer. Treaty of Tordesillas. Which strait connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea and separates Europe from Africa? Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Gibraltar. Bosporus Strait. Correct answer. Strait of Gibraltar. Which poet wrote The Waste Land, a foundational modernist work published in 1922? Ezra Pound. W. B. Yeats. T. S. Eliot. Correct answer. T. S. Eliot. Which Mexican artist is renowned for her vivid self-portraits that explore identity, pain, and indigenous culture? Frida Kahlo. Diego Rivera. Remedios Varo. Correct answer. Frida Kahlo. Which astronomer formulated the laws of planetary motion, showing that planets orbit the Sun in ellipses rather than perfect circles? Galileo Galilei. Johannes Kepler. Tycho Brahe. Correct answer. Johannes Kepler. Which German director is known for the silent horror film Nosferatu, 1922, an unauthorized adaptation of Dracula? F. W. Murnau. Robert Wien. Carl Theodor Dreyer. Correct answer. F. W. Murnau. Which city hosted the first modern Olympic Games in 1896? Athens. Paris. London. Correct answer. Athens. Which type of database organizes data into rows and columns, and uses structured query language, SQL, for managing and querying? Relational database. Graph database. Document database. Correct answer. Relational database. Which number is the only even prime number? 1, 2, 4. Correct answer. 2. Which African river is the longest in the world, flowing northward through 11 countries before reaching the Mediterranean Sea? Congo River, Nile River, Zambezi River. Correct answer. Nile River. Which Italian painter is known for developing linear perspective and for works like the Holy Trinity fresco in Florence? Masaccio, Giotto, Raphael. Correct answer. Masaccio. Which Baroque composer wrote the Four Seasons, a set of violin concertos representing different times of the year? Johann Sebastian Bach, Antonio Vivaldi, George Frideric Handel. Correct answer. Antonio Vivaldi. Which cinematographer is widely celebrated for his collaborations with director Alfonso Cuarón, winning Oscars for Gravity, Roma, and Birdman? Roger Deakins, Robert Richardson, Emmanuel Lubezki. Correct answer. Emmanuel Lubezki. What is the only mammal capable of sustained flight? Flying squirrel, sugar glider, bat. Correct answer. Bat. Which European monarch was known as the Sun King and ruled France for over 70 years, establishing absolute monarchy? Louis XIV, Napoleon Bonaparte, Charles V. Correct answer. Louis XIV. Which of these elements is liquid at room temperature? Bromine, iodine, phosphorus. Correct answer. Bromine. Which Russian author wrote Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov? Leo Tolstoy, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Anton Chekhov. Correct answer. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Which director pioneered the vertigo shot, dolly zoom effect, in cinema? Stanley Kubrick, Alfred Hitchcock, Orson Welles. Correct answer. Alfred Hitchcock. Which of these plants is the fastest growing in the world, capable of growing up to 91 centimeters, 3 feet, per day? Bamboo, giant sequoia, kudzu vine. Correct answer. Bamboo. What is the name of the supermassive black hole at the center of our Milky Way galaxy? Cygnus X-1, Sagittarius A, Messier 87. Correct answer. Sagittarius A. Which dinosaur is known as the fast thief and was likely one of the smartest dinosaurs, with a brain-to-body ratio similar to modern birds? Velociraptor, Tyrannosaurus rex, Triceratops. Correct answer. Velociraptor. Which storage device used magnetic tape in the 1980s and was popular for home computer data storage? Floppy disk, cassette tape drive, CD-ROM. Correct answer. Cassette tape drive. Which pioneering nurse is credited with founding modern nursing during the Crimean War and became known as the Lady with the Lamp? Clara Barton, Florence Nightingale, Mary C. Cole. Correct answer. Florence Nightingale. Which explorer completed the first circumnavigation of the globe, though he died during the voyage and only his ship returned? Christopher Columbus, Ferdinand Magellan, Vasco da Gama. Correct answer. Ferdinand Magellan. Which top-secret U.S. project developed stealth aircraft technology, including the F-117 Nighthawk, during the Cold War? Project Blue Book, Project Azorian, Have Blue. Correct answer. Have Blue. Which Renaissance artist secretly dissected corpses to study human anatomy, resulting in remarkably accurate anatomical drawings? Raphael. Michelangelo. Leonardo da Vinci. Correct answer. Leonardo da Vinci. Which wartime scarcity led to the invention of margarine in the 19th century as a butter substitute? Napoleonic Wars. American Civil War. World War I. Correct answer. Napoleonic Wars. Which iconic 20th century designer revolutionized women's fashion by introducing the little black dress in the 1920s? Christian Dior. Coco Chanel. Yves Saint Laurent. Correct answer. Coco Chanel. Which country has the most time zones, spanning a staggering 12 different zones? United States. Russia. France. Correct answer. France. What is the name of the apocalyptic battle in Norse mythology where gods, giants, and monsters face destruction, leading to the rebirth of the world? Fimbulwinter. Ragnarok. Götterdämmerung. Correct answer. Ragnarok. Which legendary creature is said to inhabit the Himalayan mountains and is often described as a yeti or abominable snowman? Chupacabra. Bigfoot. Migoi. Correct answer. Migoi. What was the first song ever recorded by a computer, at Bell Labs in 1957? Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Daisy Bell. Mary Had a Little Lamb. Correct answer. Daisy Bell. Which AI system became the first to defeat a reigning world champion at the complex board game Go in 2016? IBM Watson. AlphaGo. Deep Blue. Correct answer. AlphaGo. Which phenomenon causes the deep scattering layer in oceans, where marine life creates a false seafloor on sonar? Bioluminescent plankton. Daily vertical migration of fish/squid. Underwater volcanic activity. Correct answer. Daily vertical migration of fish/squid. Which cognitive bias describes our tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive when making decisions? Confirmation bias. Anchoring bias. Hindsight bias. Correct answer. Anchoring bias. What rare celestial event occurs when the moon completely blocks the sun, revealing the sun's corona? Lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse. Total solar eclipse. Correct answer. Total solar eclipse. Which ancient civilization built the Qanat system, an underground network of tunnels that transported water across arid regions for irrigation? Ancient Egyptians. Persians. Romans. Correct answer. Persians. Which groundbreaking 20th century medical discovery was initially deemed useless by its inventor, Sir Alexander Fleming? X-rays. Penicillin. Insulin. Correct answer. Penicillin. What was the name of the first artificial satellite launched into space, marking the beginning of the space age? Explorer 1. Sputnik 1. Vanguard 1. Correct answer. Sputnik 1. Which World War II code-breaking machine was the ancestor of modern computers, developed to decrypt Nazi Enigma messages? Colossus. Bomb. Lorenz SC-42. Correct answer. Colossus. What rare phenomenon causes the ocean to occasionally glow an electric blue at night, often called Sea of Stars? Underwater volcanoes. Bioluminescent plankton. Deep sea electrical currents. Correct answer. Bioluminescent plankton.
How many correct answers did you get? Leave us a comment with your number of correct answers.